The neon sign outside Dexter's Fix-It shop flickered 3 times before settling into its usual buzzing rhythm. An ordinary Tuesday evening in New Millvale, 2187, where ordinary meant at least 5 species of off-worlders roaming the streets and the occasional hover transport causing traffic jams. Dexter Hooper wiped the grease from his hands and glanced at the holographic clock hanging crookedly above his workbench. 6:58 p.m. 2 more minutes, and he could close up shop, crack open a beer, and watch reruns of Orion's Daughter, the intergalactic soap opera he'd become embarrassingly addicted to. Just another thrilling day in the life of Earth's most average mechanic, he mumbled to himself as he organized his anti-gravity wrenches. The front door's ancient bell jingled. Dexter sighed. There was always one last-minute customer who couldn't tell time. "Sorry, pal, we're closed." His words died in his throat as he turned to face the newcomer. Standing, or rather, swaying, in the doorway was what appeared to be a humanoid figure encased in a damaged exosuit. The helmet was cracked across what would be the eye line, and the entire right arm segment sparked intermittently. A strange, acrid smell like burnt almonds filled the small shop. "Assistance required," came a halting, modulated voice from the suit. "Repairs. Critical." Dexter hesitated. The figure stumbled forward, nearly collapsing onto a workbench of disassembled droid parts. "Whoa, steady there, buddy," Dexter said, rushing to stabilize the stranger. Up close, he could see through the cracked visor. The being inside had grayish, almost translucent skin and completely white, seemingly sightless eyes. "Look, I don't know what kind of suit that is," Dexter said carefully. "There are regulations about cross-species tech transfers. The galactic bureaucracy doesn't mess around with that stuff." The suit emitted a series of rapid clicks and whirs. "Cannot. See. Cannot. Navigate. Payment." A small compartment on the suit's chest plate slid open, and a withered hand extended outward, offering what appeared to be an ancient candy wrapper. Dexter squinted at the faded text. "Milky Way, 1995 AD. Is this supposed to be payment?" Dexter asked incredulously. "Value. Immense," the being insisted, its voice becoming weaker. "Help." Dexter ran his fingers through his unruly brown hair, a habit whenever he was weighing the consequences of a particularly bad idea. Jupiter Accords specifically prohibit Level 7 tech transfers to unclassified species. "I could lose my license. Or worse, get fined into oblivion." The being's posture slumped further. Against his better judgment, Dexter heard himself say, "Oh, what the hell? Let's take a look." He gestured toward his main workstation. "But I'm not promising anything." The alien shuffled forward with Dexter's assistance, its movements jerky and uncertain. As Dexter helped it onto the examination table, he wondered what catastrophic series of events had led this creature to his humble shop in the outskirts of New Millvale. More importantly, he wondered why he couldn't have closed 2 minutes earlier and avoided this problem entirely. "Can you tell me your name? Or, you know what I should call you?" Dexter asked as he began scanning the exosuit with his diagnostic tool. Designation: Grok. The alien's voice sounded pained through the suit's damaged vocalization system. "Well, Grok, your suit is interesting," Dexter said diplomatically. The scan readings were unlike anything he'd seen before. The circuitry patterns were completely foreign, and the material composition included elements he couldn't identify. "This is well beyond Earth tech standards." "Feeks. Please," Grok repeated. Dexter's diagnostic tool suddenly beeped rapidly, displaying a warning about unknown energy signatures and potential Level 8 restricted technology. Level 8. That was even worse than he'd thought. That was the kind of stuff reserved for elite military applications or diplomatic corps. "Well, I'm already in trouble just by scanning this thing," Dexter muttered. "Might as well go all in." He pressed a button on his workbench, and a hidden panel slid open, revealing specialized tools he kept for his more discreet clients. Most mechanics had them these days. The bureaucratic red tape around interspecies technology had created a booming gray market for fixers willing to bend the rules. "This is going to take time," Dexter warned as he selected a nano-precision driver. And if anyone from Galactic Enforcement shows up, we were just discussing the weather, got it? Grok made a sound that might have been agreement. As Dexter worked into the night, carefully decoupling damaged circuit pathways and replacing burned-out components with Earth equivalents, he found himself increasingly drawn into the puzzle of Grok's suit. The technology was elegant yet practical, with redundancies built into systems he wouldn't have thought. Needed backup. Whoever designed this was both brilliant and paranoid. So, Dexter said conversationally as he soldered a particularly delicate connection, "Want to tell me how you got your suit this banged up? And maybe how you ended up in my shop?" Grok remained silent for so long that Dexter thought his makeshift vocal repair had failed. Then, with startling clarity, Grok's voice came through. Pursued. Escaped. Crashed. Pursued by who? Dexter asked, his curiosity piqued. Those who serve. The Emperor. The final word was spoken with such intensity that Dexter accidentally singed his finger on the soldering tool. Emperor? Which Emperor? There are like 12 different Imperial systems in this sector alone. Dexter sucked on his burnt finger. The Emperor of all, Grok replied, cryptically. The one who... A sudden series of rapid clicks interrupted Grok's speech, followed by silence. Dexter tapped the vocal unit. Hey, you still with me? A weak light pulsed behind a cracked visor. Cannot. Speak more. Don't ye? Fine, be mysterious, Dexter grumbled, returning to his work. By 3 a.m., Dexter had repaired the suit's basic life support functions and mobility systems. The visual sensors were trickier. They operated on a frequency he'd never encountered before. He needed sleep before tackling that challenge. Rest here, Dexter told Grok, gesturing to a cot in the back room where he sometimes crashed during marathon repair jobs. I'll work on your visual systems tomorrow. Grok managed a stilted nod and shuffled toward the cot. As Dexter finally collapsed into his own bed upstairs, exhaustion claimed him instantly. His last conscious thought was that the candy wrapper Grok had offered was still clutched in his hand. Morning arrived with the unwelcome blare of Dexter's alarm and an even more unwelcome notification on his shop's communication terminal. The holographic message bore the ornate seal of the Galactic Bureaucracy, Department of Technology Regulation. Oh, fantastic, Dexter muttered, accepting the transmission. The stern face of Inspector Harlow materialized, all sharp angles and no humor. Mechanic Dexter Hooper, registration GB 4271M. Our systems detected a level 7, potentially level 8, technology scan for your establishment at 1923 hours yesterday evening. Dexter forced a casual laugh. Must be a glitch in your systems, Inspector. I was just calibrating some new diagnostic equipment. You know how those things send out all sorts of weird signals during setup. Inspector Harlow's expression didn't change. A technician will arrive at your location by 1400 hours today to examine your equipment and verify compliance with Jupiter Accords, sections 42 through 179. Failure to be present or to provide access will result in immediate license suspension. The transmission ended before Dexter could protest. Well, that's just perfect, he muttered, trudging downstairs to check on his alien house guest. He found Grok already awake, standing motionless beside the cot. Morning, sunshine, Dexter said, heading straight for his coffee machine. We've got company coming at 2 p.m. Bureaucrats who'd love nothing more than to find you here and me helping you. So we need to get your suit fixed and you out of here by then. Grok turned slowly toward Dexter's voice. The Emperor's agents. Always watching. No, just regular bureaucratic busybodies, Dexter corrected, downing half his coffee in one gulp. Though they're probably just as annoying as your Emperor's folks. Dexter spent the morning tackling the visual systems on Grok's exosuit. The technology was strange. It didn't simply process light as normal vision would. Instead, it seemed designed to interpret multiple wavelengths simultaneously, creating what Dexter could only imagine was a comprehensive awareness of surroundings rather than simple sight. Your species doesn't see like we do, huh? Dexter asked as he carefully recalibrated a crystalline component that seemed to be the central processor for the visual array. We see. Truth, Grok responded enigmatically. That's nice. I'd settle for seeing the winning lottery numbers, Dexter joked. As midday approached, Dexter made his final adjustments. Okay, moment of truth. I've rerouted power to your visual system. It should be functioning at about 60% capacity, which is the best I can do with the materials I have. He activated the system and watched as the lights around Grok's visor pulsed rhythmically. Grok stood perfectly still for several seconds, then slowly turned his head from side to side. I see. The voice sounded different, more fluid, less mechanical. Imperfect, but functional. Thank you, Dexter Hooper. You're welcome. Now about that payment, Dexter began, but was cut off by the shop's alert system. Warning, incoming transmission from galactic bureaucracy. Priority level, immediate. Dexter frowned. That's weird. Inspector Harlow wasn't supposed to call. Again, he accepted the transmission. This time, it wasn't Inspector Harlow, but a higher-ranking official, evident from the excessive decorations on their uniform. Mechanic Hooper, this is Commander Zalin, Division of Interspecies Security. We have reason to believe you are harboring a fugitive classified as extremely dangerous under Galactic Code 9873-X. Remain where you are. A containment team has been dispatched to your location. The transmission cut off. Extremely dangerous? Dexter turned to Grok. What exactly did you do? Existed, Grok replied simply. Then, with unexpected speed, he moved to Dexter's workbench and began rapidly assembling components. Hey, what are you doing with my stuff? Dexter protested. Building escape. Need PLOT. Device. Grok's fingers moved with remarkable dexterity for someone who'd been practically helpless the night before. Pelote. What's that? Probability loop oscillation technology, Grok explained, not pausing in his work. Manipulates reality probability waves. Creates escape path. Dexter blinked. That sounds impossible. Many things thought impossible. Until done, Grok completed his assembly, a strange, palm-sized device with pulsing blue light at its center. The shop's exterior sensors suddenly blared. Warning, multiple vehicles approaching. Dexter peered through the window blinds. 3 sleek black hover transports with the galactic bureaucracy insignia were descending toward his shop, flanked by what appeared to be military-grade enforcement drones. They're really serious about this, Dexter muttered. He turned back to Grok. Look, maybe we should just explain. No explanations they will accept. Grok interrupted, activating the device. Choice now, Dexter Hooper. Stay or come with me. Dexter hesitated only a moment. His shop was already compromised, and his license was as good as revoked. Plus, he had to admit he was curious about what the hell was actually going on. Fine. Let's go, he said, grabbing his emergency bag from under the counter, a habit from his less reputable early days as a mechanic. Grok nodded and pressed the center of the device. The blue light expanded rapidly, engulfing them both. Dexter felt a sensation like being simultaneously stretched and compressed, his vision blurring as reality itself seemed to warp around them. When his senses stabilized, they were no longer in his shop. Instead, they stood in what appeared to be a small spacecraft's cargo hold, dimly lit and humming with quiet energy. What the where are we? Dexter gasped, fighting down a wave of nausea. My vessel. Cloaked. Orbit's edge, Grok replied, moving toward what Dexter assumed was the cockpit. Safe. Temporarily. Dexter followed, his mind racing. Okay, I think it's time you told me exactly what's going on. Who are you? Why is the galactic bureaucracy calling you extremely dangerous? And what's this about an emperor? Grok settled into a pilot's chair that morphed to accommodate his form. With his visual systems partially restored, he manipulated the ship's controls with practiced ease. I am Xanthi, Grok said. Last of my kind, or so Emperor claims. Xanthi? Dexter frowned. Never heard of your species. Because officially extinct. For 3 centuries. Grok's voice carried a weight of sadness. Emperor ordered genocide. Those who survived. Blinded. Blinded? You mean your species wasn't naturally blind? No. Emperor feared our sight. We see truth. All truths. Including his secrets. Grok adjusted something on the control panel, and a holographic display showed Earth growing smaller as they ascended. Dexter slumped into the co-pilot seat. So the Emperor, whoever that is, wiped out your species because you could, what? See through lies. Simplified, but accurate. Grok confirmed. I'm last with knowledge of ancient tech. Last who remembers how to restore our sight. And the galactic bureaucracy works for this Emperor? Dexter was trying to piece it all together. Not directly, but influenced. Controlled through layers of protocol. Emperor allows bureaucracies to exist. Keeps populations busy with paperwork instead of questions. A warning light flashed on a console. Grok quickly adjusted their course. Patrol detected. Must move farther out. As they navigated away from Earth's orbital zone, Dexter's mind raced with implications. So basically, I've just become an accomplice to the most wanted person in the galaxy, and we're running from both the galactic bureaucracy and some all-powerful Emperor who nobody has apparently thought to mention to us humans. Correct assessment. Grok confirmed with what might have been the alien equivalent of a dry chuckle. Great. Just great. Dexter glanced back at Earth through the view screen. I didn't even lock on my shop. Their moment of relative calm was shattered by an urgent alarm from the ship's systems. A massive energy signature had appeared at the edge of the solar system, far larger than any regular spacecraft. Impossible, Grok whispered, his calm demeanor cracking for the first time. Emperor's mothership. Here, already. The view screen adjusted to show a colossal vessel emerging from what appeared to be a fold in space itself. The ship defied conventional design, appearing as a massive, impossibly intricate structure that seemed to both absorb and emit light simultaneously. That's big, Dexter said inadequately. Like really big. World Destroyer big, Grok confirmed grimly. Emperor comes personally. Unprecedented. For you? Just one person. Dexter couldn't hide his disbelief. Not for me. Grok turned to face Dexter directly. For what I represent. Hope for my kind. Threat to Emperor's lies. Their conversation was interrupted as every communication channel suddenly activated simultaneously. A resonant voice filled the small ship. Attention all vessels and inhabitants of Sol System. This is the Supreme Emperor of the Galactic Concordance. A dangerous terrorist has sought refuge in your system. Surrender the Exanthe fugitive immediately or face planetary sanctions. Dexter's breath caught in his throat. Planetary sanction? They're threatening Earth because of you. Standard protocol, Grok replied, though his voice carried a note of regret. Emperor threatens. Populations comply through fear. Well, we can't let him destroy my planet. Dexter stood up, pacing the small cockpit. We need a plan. Grok manipulated several controls, bringing up detailed schematics of the Emperor's mothership. There's way. Dangerous. Requires skill you have. What skill? I'm just a mechanic. Precisely, Grok said, highlighting a section of the schematics. Emperor's ship runs on quantum probability matrix. Similar principles to PLOT. Device but vastly scaled up. With modifications to my exosuit's visual systems, your work, I can access truth of ship systems. And do what exactly? Dexter asked. Reveal Emperor's greatest lie. To all connected systems simultaneously. Dexter stared at the massive mothership on the view screen. And how exactly do we get aboard that thing? I'm guessing they don't just let anyone dock. They will come for us, Grok said with certainty. Emperor wants me alive. To ensure no knowledge survives. As if on cue, the ship's proximity sensors detected multiple smaller vessels launching from the mothership. Intercept course. They're coming. Grok stood and reached for his PLOT. Device. Must prepare. Dexter grabbed Grok's arm. Wait. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, I need to know everything. The whole truth. Grok paused, then nodded slowly. Fair request. He adjusted his exosuit settings and projected a holographic image between them. It showed a humanoid figure with features similar to Grok's, but adorned with elaborate regalia. The Emperor, Grok explained, is Exanthe. Dexter's jaw dropped. What? But you said he wiped out your species. He did. After ascending to power. Changed his appearance. Hid his origin. Rules through deception. The hologram changed to show historical footage of various planets. Emperor fears truth of his origin, and greater truth beyond, which is, Dexter prompted. Exanthi were created by humans. Dexter barked a surprised laugh. Now I know you're messing with me. Humans couldn't create a species with your abilities. We're not that advanced. Not current humans, Grok clarified. Ancient civilization, before recorded history, created Exanthi as truth seers. Partners. The hologram showed archaeological imagery of ruins unlike any Dexter had seen in history books. Then great catastrophe. Human civilization fell. Exanthi scattered. Emperor's ancestors found ancient technology. Use it to build empire. Emperor fears this knowledge would undermine his divine right to rule. The ship shuddered as a tractor beam locked onto them. Capture imminent, Grok stated calmly. Remember, Emperor fears truth above all. My restored vision is weapon. Your mechanical skills made it possible. Great. So I've helped create a weapon that's got the most powerful being in the galaxy gunning for us. Dexter took a deep breath. What's the plan? Allow capture. Act defeated. When aboard, I will access Central Communication Hub. You will create distraction. That's it? That's the plan? Dexter asked incredulously. Simple plans have fewer failure points, Grok replied as their ship was inexorably drawn toward the mothership. I can't argue with that logic, Dexter muttered, checking the contents of his tool belt. At least he had his multi-tool. It wasn't much against an Imperial armada, but it was better than nothing. As their small vessel was drawn into an enormous docking bay, Dexter saw hundreds of ships of various designs and countless uniformed personnel moving with military precision. The scale of the operation was staggering. I'm starting to think this wasn't my best decision, Dexter whispered as armed guards surrounded their ship. Too late for regrets. Grok replied simply. Now we make history. The ship's hatch opened with a pressurized hiss, and they found themselves facing a dozen armored guards with weapons trained on them. Behind the guards stood a tall, elegantly dressed official with an expression of cold satisfaction. Fugitive Exanthi G. 773, designation Grok. You are hereby remanded to Imperial custody, the official announced. His gaze shifted to Dexter. And you, human, are charged with aiding a known terrorist and violating 17 interspecies technology protocols. Only 17? Dexter quipped nervously. I would have thought more. The official's expression didn't change. Escort them to holding cell 731. The Emperor will deal with them personally. As they were led through the labyrinthine corridors of the mothership, Dexter marveled at the technology surrounding them. It made Earth's most advanced systems look like children's toys. Every surface seemed alive with purpose, and doorways opened and closed according to some invisible protocol. How are we supposed to get out of this? Dexter whispered to Grok as they were marched along. We're surrounded by armed guards in the middle of the most secure ship in the galaxy. Trust, Grok replied cryptically. Watch. Learn pathways. Dexter took the hint and began paying closer attention to their route, noting junction points and control panels. He also observed the guards, their formations, protocols, and the timing of their communications. Force of habit from his days, skirting the edges of legality as a young mechanic. They were finally brought to a holding cell, a stark, hexagonal chamber with no visible exit once the wall sealed behind them. Great, Dexter sighed, examining the seamless walls. No doors, no windows, no visible control panels. Any other brilliant ideas? Grok simply stood in the center of the room, his head tilted slightly as if listening. After a moment, he spoke. Ship systems accessible through ambient field. My restored vision detects patterns. He pointed to what appeared to Dexter as a blank section of wall. Control node there. Frequency oscillation needed. Understanding dawned on Dexter. You want me to create a resonance feedback loop to expose the node? Yes. Using this, Grok handed Dexter a small component from his exosuit, one that Dexter had repaired. Dexter examined it. I think I can modify this to emit a targeted frequency burst, but I'll need something to amplify it. Grok removed another component from his suit. Power cell. Careful. unstable if mishandled. Working quickly with his multi-tool, Dexter created a crude but effective resonance emitter. "This is either going to work or blow us into very tiny pieces," he warned. "Acceptable odds," Grok replied with what might have been the Xanthe equivalent of shrug. Dexter aimed the device at the section of wall Grok had indicated and activated it. A high-pitched whine filled the air, and slowly, a control interface became visible in the wall, its circuits glowing beneath the surface. "How did you know that would work?" Dexter asked, amazed. "Told you. We see truth, including what is hidden." Grok moved to the newly revealed interface and placed his hand upon it. His exosuit's lights pulsed rapidly as it interfaced with the ship's systems. "I can access basic functions. Enough to open cell. Not enough for main objective." Grok turned to Dexter. "Need direct connection to central communication hub." "And where's that?" Dexter asked. "Near Emperor's throne room. Highest security." "Of course it is," Dexter muttered. The wall of their cell suddenly slid open, revealing the corridor beyond, now empty of guards. "Security diverted. Temporarily," Grok explained. "Have created false alert in distant section." They moved quickly through the corridors, Grok leading with newfound confidence, his partially restored vision allowing him to detect security measures invisible to Dexter. "How big is this ship anyway?" Dexter whispered as they navigated through seemingly endless passages. "Approximately 1/5 size of Earth's moon," Grok replied matter-of-factly. "You're kidding." Xanthe do not kid. They reached a junction where multiple corridors converged around a central lift shaft that extended both up and down beyond Dexter's vision. "Central axis," Grok explained. "Throne room atop. We need access level 7 below throne." "And how do we get there without being spotted by every guard on this ship?" Dexter asked. Grok pointed to a maintenance duct. "Service pathways. Designed for repair drones. We can fit. Barely." "Great," Dexter sighed. "More crawling through ducts." "Why is it always ducts?" The maintenance pathway was indeed cramped. Dexter had to wriggle through sections where the passage narrowed, and his shoulders were constantly scraping against the sides. Grok, slightly smaller in stature, managed with less difficulty. As they crawled, Dexter asked, "So what exactly is this truth you're planning to reveal?" Emperor's origin, his deception, but more importantly, ancient connection between humans and Xanthe. Knowledge that undermines entire imperial philosophy of species hierarchy. And you think people will just accept this? Overthrow the Emperor because of some historical revelation? "Truth has power," Grok replied, "especially when witnessed simultaneously by billions. Emperor's power built on perceived divine right. Remove foundation, structure falls." They finally reached an access point that, according to Grok, would put them one level below the communication hub. As they prepared to exit the duct, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. "Warning! Intruders detected in Maintenance System Section 47G. All security personnel converge." "That's us, isn't it?" Dexter groaned. "Yes. Emperor likely monitoring personally now." Grok pushed open the access panel. "No more stealth. Now we run." They emerged into a wide corridor and immediately sprinted toward a large set of doors at the far end. Behind them, they could hear the pounding of boots as security forces mobilized. "Those doors lead to communication hub." Dexter panted as they ran. "Yes, heavily secured." "How do we get through?" "Working on it," Grok replied, his exosuit's systems interfacing with each terminal they passed, creating system overflow. Security locks default open when overloaded. They reached the doors just as the first security team rounded the corner behind them. Energy weapons discharged, missing them by inches as the massive doors slowly began to part. "Go!" Grok pushed Dexter through the narrowly opened doors, then followed, using his PLOT device to temporarily seal the doors behind them. They found themselves in a vast circular chamber. The walls were lined with what appeared to be living circuitry, pulsing, organic-looking technology that flowed like liquid, yet maintained defined pathways. At the center stood a crystalline structure that reached from floor to ceiling, glowing with inner light that shifted through colors Dexter couldn't even name. The heart of Imperial communication, Grok said with reverence. From here, all propaganda flows. All truth is filtered. It's beautiful, Dexter admitted, in a terrifying, alien way. Quickly, Grok urged, moving toward control interface. Must connect before I arrive, came a resonant voice from above. A section of the ceiling parted, and a platform descended. Upon it stood a figure that defied easy description. At first glance, the Emperor appeared humanoid, tall and regal in flowing robes of shifting colors. But as Dexter looked closer, he realized the Emperor's form seemed to flicker and change subtly, as if reality itself couldn't quite agree on his appearance. The rogue Exanthe and his human accomplice, the Emperor said, his voice carrying unnatural harmonics. How predictable that you would come here. Grok stood defiant. Emperor, or should I say, Exanthe G1? The Emperor's form flickered more violently for a moment. That designation no longer exists. As your species no longer exists. Yet here I stand, Grok replied. A mistake soon corrected. The Emperor's gaze shifted to Dexter. And you, human, your species always meddling in affairs beyond your comprehension. Dexter swallowed hard, but found his voice. Actually, from what I hear, we created the Exanthe. So maybe this is exactly our affair. The Emperor's expression darkened. Dangerous lies. The kind that destabilize order. Truth, Grok corrected. The kind that threatens tyrants. The Emperor gestured dismissively, and energy crackled around them, freezing them in place. Enough. Your misguided rebellion ends here. Your truth dies with you. Dexter strained against the invisible force holding him. Why? What are you so afraid of people knowing? Afraid? The Emperor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I fear nothing. I simply maintain order. Order built on lies. Grok managed to say despite the restraining field. Show your true form, Emperor. Show what you hide, even from yourself. Silence. The Emperor's form flickered more violently, briefly revealing a figure more similar to Grok, an Exanthe, but with cybernetic modifications covering much of its body. You know nothing of what is necessary to rule a galaxy. Despite the energy field restraining him, Grok managed to reach toward his exosuit controls. I know enough of truth, and so will everyone else. With a tremendous effort, Grok activated something on his suit. The visual array, the very system Dexter had repaired, suddenly emitted a pulse of energy that connected with the crystalline communication structure. The Emperor roared in anger and intensified the restraining field, but it was too late. The pulse had reached the crystal, which now began to resonate, its colors shifting more rapidly. What have you done? The Emperor demanded, his form now flickering constantly between his regal appearance and his true Exanthe form. Connected my vision to communication network, Grok explained, his voice strained, showing truth to everyone simultaneously. The crystal's resonance grew stronger, and suddenly holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing scenes Dexter didn't recognize. Ancient ruins, historical recordings, documents, and genetic sequences. The complete truth, Grok continued. Humans created Exanthe as partners to see truth. Before their civilization fell, you found technology, used it for power, built empire on lie of superiority. The Emperor's restraining field weakened as he focused his energy on trying to shut down the communication system. Stop this. You'll create galactic chaos. Dexter, feeling the restraint lessening, managed to reach his multi-tool. With precise aim born from years of mechanical work, he threw it at a crucial junction box he'd spotted earlier. The tool connected, sending sparks flying and causing a chain reaction through the room's systems. The restraining field collapsed entirely. The crystal's resonance reached a crescendo, and the holographic displays multiplied exponentially. It's transmitting to every connected system in the galaxy, Dexter realized in awe. Every planet, every ship, every communication device. The Emperor lunged toward the crystal, his true form now fully revealed. an exanthe with extensive cybernetic modifications, including visual systems that pulsed with unnatural light. "I will not be undone by a mechanic and a blind fool," he roared, channeling energy through his cybernetics to attack the crystal. Grok intercepted him, their exosuits colliding in a shower of energy. Not blind anymore, thanks to Dexter. And now, neither is Galaxy. Dexter scrambled toward the control interface, using his mechanical knowledge to reinforce the transmission. "It's working," he called to Grok. "Whatever you're showing them, it's going to every system with a receiver." The Emperor fought with unexpected strength, his cybernetics giving him advantages over Grok. "You think truth alone will defeat me? I command the largest military force in history." "Command through fear and lies," Grok countered, struggling to maintain his hold. "When foundation crumbles, so does control." As if to prove Grok's point, the chamber doors suddenly opened. Imperial guards entered, but instead of attacking Grok and Dexter, they hesitated, their weapons lowered as they stared at the holographic displays and the Emperor's true form. "Sir," one guard asked uncertainly, "are you?" The Emperor turned his rage on the guards. "Execute them. Now. That's an order." But more guards were arriving, and none were raising their weapons. The holographic displays were showing them the complete history. The rise of the Emperor from exanthe origins, the systematic blinding and subjugation of his own species, the fabricated divine right narratives used to build the Empire. "Kill them." The Emperor roared again, his voice distorting as his cybernetics fluctuated under stress. One of the senior guards stepped forward, removing his helmet. His expression was a mixture of confusion and determination. "No, sir. Not until we understand what's happening." The Emperor's rage manifested as crackling energy around his form. "This is treason. You will all be executed. Only if you win," Dexter called out, still working at the control interface. "And right now, I'd say your odds aren't looking great." Across the galaxy, the transmission continued to broadcast. On thousands of planets, in millions of ships, beings of all species were witnessing the same revelations. The carefully constructed narrative of the Emperor's divine right to rule was unraveling in real time. Grok, still grappling with the Emperor, managed to access another function of his restored visual system. "See truth," he said, directing a focused beam of energy directly at the Emperor's cybernetic eyes. "See what you have denied." The Emperor shrieked, a sound of both rage and terror, as Grok's beam interfaced with his modified visual systems. For perhaps the first time in centuries, the Emperor was seeing reality unfiltered by his own technological distortions. "No," the Emperor gasped, his struggle weakening. "The accord, the balance. They'll come back." "What's he talking about?" Dexter asked, joining Grok as the Emperor slumped to his knees. "Ancient fears," Grok explained, his tone solemn. "Reason's first exanthe helped humans. Threats beyond known space." The Emperor looked up at them, his expression transformed from rage to something more complex. Fear mingled with resignation. "You fool. You've doomed us all. The barriers must be maintained. The old agreements honored." Grok placed a hand on the Emperor's shoulder, an unexpected gesture of compassion. "Truth will protect us better than lies, as it always has." The scene in the communication hub was now mirrored throughout the mothership and beyond. Imperial troops were standing down, administrators were frozen at their stations, and the rigid hierarchy that had defined the Empire for centuries was dissolving in the face of undeniable truth. Dexter surveyed the room, scarcely believing what had just happened. "So, did we just topple an intergalactic empire?" "Not destroyed," Grok corrected. "Transformed. Empire built on lies falls. Empire rebuilt on truth may endure." The senior guard who had first defied the Emperor approached them cautiously. "The command structure is requesting instructions. The entire fleet awaits your word." Grok shook his head. "Not mine to command. Truth has been revealed. Each must decide now. Democracy, not tyranny." "That's going to be one hell of a transition period," Dexter muttered. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the hub. A technician rushed in, addressing no one in particular. "Multiple systems failing. The Emperor's personal protocols are triggering some kind of self-destruct sequence. Dexter looked at Grok in alarm. Please tell me your plan included a way off this moon-sized death trap. Working on it, Grok replied, moving swiftly to another interface. His exosuit's visual system interfaced with the ship's controls, fighting against the cascading failure of systems. Emperor built fail-safes, deadman protocols. The floor trembled beneath them as distant explosions began to rock the massive vessel. Guards, Grok addressed the Imperial soldiers, evacuate all personnel. Emergency protocols. The guards snapped to attention, their training taking over despite the unprecedented situation, and began coordinating evacuation procedures. The Emperor, still on his knees, laughed hollowly. You cannot stop it. The core destabilization is hardwired. If I fall, all falls with me. Dexter grabbed the Emperor's ornate robes. Override it. Now. Impossible, the Emperor replied. The final protocol requires my living biological signature, continuously maintained. As my systems fail from your intervention, so too does the safety protocol. Dexter turned to Grok. Can we fix his systems? Stabilize him long enough to get everyone off this ship. Grok was already examining the Emperor's cybernetics with his enhanced vision. Possible. Requires your skills. Mechanical reconfiguration of his neural interface. You want me to repair the guy who was just trying to kill us? Dexter asked incredulously. To save billions on this ship, yes, Grok replied simply. Another explosion, closer this time, rocked the chamber. Pieces of the ceiling began to fall around them. Fine, Dexter sighed, reaching for his recovered multi-tool. Just another day at the repair shop. Working with desperate speed, Dexter followed Grok's guidance to access the Emperor's cybernetic control systems. The technology was far beyond Earth standards, but the fundamental principles were familiar enough. Power distribution, signal processing, feedback loops. It was like working on the most complicated engine he'd ever encountered, with the added pressure of imminent destruction. Reroute the neural pathways, Grok instructed. Bypass the failing emotional regulators. That would be easier if the ship would stop exploding for 5 minutes, Dexter grunted, making a delicate adjustment as another tremor shook the room. The Emperor remained eerily passive, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays, still showing the truth of his reign to the galaxy. They will remember me as a fraud, he whispered. They'll remember you didn't take everyone down with you, Dexter countered, not looking up from his work. That count for something. With a final adjustment, Dexter stepped back. That should stabilize his systems. Temporarily, the tremors subsided slightly as the Emperor's connection to the ship's self-destruct protocol stabilized. How long will it hold? The senior guard asked. Hours at most, Grok replied. Enough to evacuate. And then what? Dexter asked. We've revealed the truth, dethroned an emperor, and prevented an immediate catastrophe. What happens next? Grok's answer was interrupted by yet another alarm. But this one was different. Not a warning of destruction, but a notification of arrival. The main view screen activated automatically, showing space outside the mothership. A series of massive vessels were emerging from jump points. Vessels of designs Dexter had never seen before. What now? Dexter groaned. More Imperial forces? No, Grok said, his voice filled with wonder. Exanthe ships. Ancient design. They heard the truth broadcast. The Emperor stared at the screen in disbelief. Impossible. All were destroyed. Not all. Grok corrected. Some escaped. Hid. Preserved our culture and technology. Waited for a moment to return. A communication request. Flashed on the console. Grok accepted it, and a figure appeared on screen, an Exanthe, but unlike Grok or the Emperor, this one's eyes were clear and knowing, without cybernetic modification. Brothers, the figure greeted them. We have waited centuries for the signal of truth to be broadcast again. We come to assist. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. The arriving Exanthe fleet deployed advanced technology to stabilize the mothership's deteriorating systems. Evacuation continued for those who wished to leave, while teams of Exanthe engineers worked to permanently disable the self-destruct protocols without relying on the Emperor's failing biological signature. Dexter found himself in an observation lounge, watching shuttles and ships moving between the mothership and the Exanthe vessels. Grok joined him, his exosuit now interfaced with the central systems of the mothership, coordinating the massive operation. Your people seem to have things under control, Dexter observed. Yes, ancient knowledge preserved. We'll help transition Empire to something new. And what happens to him? Dexter nodded toward a secured area where the Emperor was being held. Justice, but with compassion. Exanthe way. Grok turned to face Dexter directly. Your repairs to my vision made this possible. One act of kindness changed galaxy. Dexter laughed softly. All because I didn't close my shop 2 minutes earlier. Fate, perhaps, Grok suggested. I don't believe in fate, Dexter replied. Just people making choices. Sometimes good ones. Speaking of choices, Grok said, what will you do now? Dexter hadn't considered that question. His shop on Earth was likely confiscated by the galactic bureaucracy, which itself was probably in complete disarray following the revelations about the Emperor. I don't know, he admitted. Start over somewhere, I guess. Find another shop to fix things. Or, Grok proposed, continue fixing important things. Exanthe fleet needs skilled mechanics who understand both our technology and human ingenuity. Bridge between worlds. Dexter raised an eyebrow. Are you offering me a job? Partnership, Grok corrected. Exanthe and humans were partners once. Could be again. Beyond the viewport, Earth was visible as a small blue marble. Dexter thought about his shop, his predictable life, and the unexpected adventure that had changed everything. Do you have a decent coffee machine on your ships? He asked. Can build one, Grok replied. With proper guidance. Then I'm in, Dexter decided. Partner. 3 months later, the galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. The Empire had been restructured as a galactic cooperative, with representatives from all species, including the newly reintegrated Exanthe, forming a democratic governing council. The galactic bureaucracy had been reformed, its regulations simplified from thousands of volumes to a few core principles based on transparency and fairness. The infamous Jupiter Accords restricting technology transfer had been replaced with the Truth Protocols, which encouraged sharing of knowledge while maintaining safeguards against misuse. Dexter Hooper, once an unremarkable mechanic in a small Earth town, now supervised the technology integration program aboard the flagship of the Exanthe fleet. His workshop was considerably larger than his old shop, and staffed with eager apprentices from a dozen species. On this particular day, he was calibrating a visual enhancement system based on Exanthe principles but modified for human use when a familiar figure entered his workshop. Grok, Dexter greeted his friend. How was the council meeting? Productive, Grok replied. He looked different now. His exosuit streamlined and elegant, the visual systems fully optimized thanks to Dexter's ongoing refinements. The cooperative grows stronger each day. And the Emperor? Dexter asked. Recovering. The treatment program progresses well. His original Exanthe consciousness emerges more each day as the cybernetic corruptions are removed. Dexter nodded, returning to his calibrations. Good. Maybe someday he'll be just another grumpy old Exanthe complaining about the younger generation. Perhaps. Grok agreed with what Dexter had learned to recognize as humor. I brought something for you. Grok placed an object on Dexter's workbench, the ancient candy wrapper that he had offered as payment on that fateful night in the repair shop. You kept this? Dexter asked, surprised. It was never ordinary, Grok explained. Ancient human artifact. Contains microscopic data storage. Records from before the fall. Dexter carefully unfolded the wrapper, seeing it with new appreciation. So it really was valuable. Beyond measure. Last direct link to original human-Exanthe partnership. Grok's eyes gleamed. Council believes you should be first to access its contents. When you're ready, Dexter set his tools aside and looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. 3 months ago, he had been fixing toasters and hover scooters. Now he was helping rebuild a galactic civilization and had access to knowledge lost for millennia. You know, he said thoughtfully, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an explorer, discover new worlds, make first contact, all that stuff. Instead, I became a mechanic. Yet here you are, Grok observed. Explorer, after all. Funny how things work out, Dexter agreed. He carefully placed the wrapper in a secure container. I'll look at this soon. But first, I need to finish this visual system. There's a blind Marvoxian on Deck 7 who's been waiting 3 days. Grok nodded approvingly, still fixing one thing at a time. It's what I do, Dexter replied with a smile. One repair at a time. Sometimes it changes a life. Sometimes it changes a galaxy. As Grok departed, Dexter returned to his work, humming contentedly. The candy wrapper, with its ancient secrets, could wait a little longer. Right now, someone needed their vision restored. And that, Dexter had learned, was how everything important began. The end.